This episode of Tech News Day is sponsored by Stitch Fix.
Earlier this week, when Facebook and Instagram went down for the better part of a day, plenty of social media addicts looking for a quick fix ventured on over to Twitter. And they found many things there, but one thing they didn't find was former President Donald J. Trump, who has been banned from the platform since just after the January 6th U.S. Capitol riot. He's been banned from most of the major social platforms since all that went down, but Twitter was, of course, President Trump's social media network of choice. And while we don't necessarily miss him, it does still kind of feel weird not having him around for the last 9 months.
And I think I've said this before, but having his Twitter account at least archived and live, but without the ability to further tweet, would have actually been a good thing, because it is a historical record of some just batshit takes.
Some really good shit, especially the stuff from before he was in politics, going back to the early 2010s. But get some bangers in there.
There's a lot of things that even supporters of it would be like, I never said that, and it's like, buddy, it's right there.
There are archives around, but it would be cool if it was preserved on his timeline.
You should have paused it. No further tweeting.
Yeah.
But anyways, at the time of his suspension, Trump was, of course, furious about the whole thing, and even managed to get several other accounts associated with his campaign banned when he tried to use them to keep on tweeting after his own account got shut down.
It was so funny.
I have a genius plan that no one has ever thought of.
Mm-hmm. Double jeopardy. You can't ban the same president.
Plus, in the same year leading up to his ban, Twitter had taken other steps to piss him off, like adding disclaimers to tweets where he told complete lies, essentially saying, the tweet is a lie, by the way.
Yeah, the thing that the president just said, it's not true.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to leave it up, but it's wrong. He didn't like that. So you'd think at this point he'd want nothing to do with Twitter and would have just moved on to a more friendly platform like Getter or Parler, which would be more than happy to have him.
Please, Mr. President.
Mr. President, please. But no, not interested. Instead, Trump's only real online mouthpiece is the news tab of DonaldJTrump.com, where Trump posts what are essentially just tweets that he'd be posting on Twitter if he could, but he can't, so he does it here. Most of them are just titled, Statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America, followed by essentially a tweet. Here's a recent example from the past week. The Democrat plan, if approved at any level, will push our country towards socialism. That's an entire post.
Yeah.
The post itself almost shorter
These are my
than
musings.
the title.
These are my musings.
Yeah.
And I
just needed to get that one out into the world. Needed to share it.
Now here's another one. If Democrats are able to piece together their huge tax hikes, called by another name, it will mean an additional 40 Republican seats in the House and at least a few additional Republican senators in the U.S. Senate. That's the whole post.
Yeah.
So basically tweets, but not on Twitter, and published in a way where you have to click on each individual post to read them. Very inconvenient all around, but if he was smart, like a lot of websites do, he would be putting advertising all over, just like a slideshow. You could put all these images on one page, but I know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's just one of the better parts about being on the internet these days is just every paragraph or so just having a giant ad that you got to skip over. You love it.
But to be fair, he has plenty of posts that are much longer statements than he may or may not have written himself. But the man, he clearly misses Twitter. And that's not our opinion. That's Donald Trump's opinion too. He is literally suing to get his Twitter account back. This man is taking it to its extreme.
Yeah, and if you're feeling a bit of deja vu, that's not even actually news. We covered it 3 months ago. Trump is suing not only Twitter, but also Facebook and Google and the chief executives of each company in a class action lawsuit that not only seeks to have his and his fellow plaintiffs' accounts restored, but also seeks to somehow have a court declare that Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act is unconstitutional. The lawsuit was seen widely as just a complete joke with no chance of success and really just something that Trump could fundraise off of, and he certainly tried to. And probably did. Mm-hmm. But it's still an active lawsuit, and Trump has now filed another lawsuit that's much more specific. All this one wants, all it's asking, is that the court will simply make Twitter give him his account back. Please. Here's The Verge.
Trump is seeking a preliminary injunction of Twitter's ban, according to the complaint filed in the Southern District of Florida late Friday. The former president argues that Twitter, coerced by members of the United States Congress, is censoring him, describing the social media platform as a major avenue of public discourse. Trump seeks to be temporarily reinstated on Twitter while he continues his efforts towards permanent reinstatement. Twitter exercises a degree of power and control over political discourse in this country that is immeasurable, historically unprecedented, and profoundly dangerous to open democratic debate, the complaint states. The former president used his @RealDonaldTrump account to announce policy and personnel decisions, often to the surprise of the agencies and people involved, to criticize political enemies and spread misinformation about election results. In the Friday filing, Trump argued that his Twitter account became an important source of news and information about government affairs and was a digital town hall where the former president posted his views. At the time of the ban, Trump had 88 million Twitter followers. Twitter also censored him during his presidency, Trump claims, by labeling some of his tweets as misleading information, which the platform said violated its rules against glorifying violence.
Very unfair. Very unfair. Why aren't they doing this to Obama's tweets?
He should have used this as an escape to actually finally fucking retire and just disappear. Like, I've been off Twitter. I've been back like twice. Once to thank someone for putting us in that music video, and like one other time or something. But like, it has taken such a weight off of my shoulders. And the constant fighting and screaming.
I love it.
Look, there are funny jokes to be made. And I see those now on Reddit, or if you send them to me. So I get a good like curated feed from you on like Discord.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the constant doom scrolling was really, really fucking with me. So I'm happy. And
But
Trump should be too.
You're not Trump. Trump loved that shit.
Yeah, I guess.
He needs it. It's taken something big away from his heart and soul. And,
Yeah, like
it's very unfair.
yes, Facebook feeding off of anger. Trump feeds off of attention.
Yeah. And he needs that attention. But a big part of this lawsuit, and the reason that it was filed in Florida, like the other lawsuit, is that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a law against deplatforming back in May. That law was very quickly blocked by a federal judge for being likely unconstitutional. DeSantis has appealed, of course, but the law's chances are not looking too bright. But meanwhile, last month, Texas passed their own deplatforming law, which would make it illegal for social media platforms to ban users based on their political viewpoints. And while it hasn't been challenged yet, it also hasn't been cited yet either, which is odd. You would think at least someone in the entire state of Texas would have a case to bring at this point if this is such a widespread problem.
Yeah, I mean,
How has no one in the entire state of Texas been censored for their political beliefs on any social media website?
I don't know.
It's weird.
Yeah. Anyways, we eagerly look forward to seeing our former president back at his old stomping grounds, pumping out banger tweets like the old days. But you'll have to send them.
I'm back, bitch.
Yeah. No thanks. I will remain on the sidelines. Just peering over the fence every once in a while to see the destruction that's happening.
If he ever starts coming down with if he gets COVID again somehow, it ends up.
That was a year ago this week.
Yeah. If Trump's ever in the hospital, they should let him. Look, he might not make it. Let him post.
Yeah. One final tweet.
Yeah, or probably dozens of.
No.
tweets.
He has to start he can only have one final thread, but it can be as many tweets as possible.
Yeah. If Trump is looking like he's on death's door, give him his Twitter account back and just let him post. And don't even put this might be misleading. No, just let him post. Everyone will understand.
Yeah.
I don't like the man one bit, but it just seems wrong to
take away the one thing he loves.
Deny him the one thing that he loves.
This is cruel and unusual punishment.
He's not in power anymore, hopefully.
I mean, that's hard to argue because of his very loyal, very unstable followers.
Yeah, he did. The lawsuit does argue it says something like this ban is doing irreparable harm to the GOP's chances in the next 2 elections. So I'm like, what do you mean by that, buddy?
There's also something else that's doing actual irreparable harm to the GOP's chances right now that is very easy to stop.
Yeah, what's that?
You just get the vaccine.
But then
Trump got it. He got it, and he said that he enjoyed it, that it worked, and that
and they booed him.
And they booed him for it.
Boo.
Yeah,
guys,
they even tried to spin it as
it's the Trump vaccine,
and it's not inaccurate to say that because he did do Operation Warp Speed.
He was the president when the vaccine was being developed. He oversaw getting those Pfizer and Moderna and J&J contracts to get those shots over here, while the rest of the world just sat around waiting.
Yeah, and
give the man some credit.
And well, as we've all seen in videos, his followers will readily take credit for the development of the vaccine,
but
while still refusing it.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's a lot of doublethink among those people.
Yeah, Yeah. Anyways, yeah. It would at the very least be entertaining to see him back on Twitter.
Just for a little bit. Maybe like weekends. Like
it's like a divorce. And he like Twitter is a kid.
I mean, they do this like it's a very popular way to transition prisoners back into society is to you let them leave the prison to go work.
Like work release?
Yeah, work release, weekend release. They should start letting Trump on for like certain hours of the day.
What's Barron up to?
Being like 8 feet tall. He keeps growing.
I mean, he's still young. It feels like it's been longer than it has been since the Trump presidency. It was literally this year he was still president.
4 feet since Trump became president. He was just a little boy, and now he's
going to be on the Dallas Mavericks before you know it.
Yeah.
Moving on now to something that we always do love to see. A company just completely imploding due to lies and mismanagement. This time it's a company called Ozy Media, which you've almost certainly never heard of. And that's just the thing. Ozy Media has spent years successfully pitching itself to investors as a hugely popular digital media brand. And looking at Ozy's website, you do get that sense. But that's just not really the case. The grift managed to work for a long time, though, until it didn't. And a recent New York Times piece on Ozy was likely the long overdue nail in the coffin. So let's read, and just a content warning for all of you. This is some pretty cringy stuff.
Yeah, you
brace yourself.
You might lock up.
Dig into the couch.
Yeah. All right. This past winter, Goldman Sachs was closing in on a $40 million investment in Ozy, a digital media company founded in 2013, and there seemed to be a lot of reasons to do the deal. Ozy boasted of a large audience for its general interest website, its newsletters, and its videos, and the company had a charismatic chief executive, Carlos Watson, a one-time cable news anchor who had worked at Goldman Sachs early in his career. And, crucially, Ozy said it had a great relationship with YouTube, where many of its videos attracted more than 1 million views. That's what the Zoom video conference on February 2nd that Ozy arranged between the Goldman Sachs Asset Management Division and YouTube was supposed to be about. Scheduled participants included Alex Piper, the head of unscripted programming for YouTube Originals. He was running late and apologized to the Goldman Sachs team, saying he'd had trouble logging into Zoom, and he suggested that the meeting be moved to a conference call, according to 4 people who were briefed on the meeting, all of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity to reveal details of a private discussion.
It continues. Once everyone had made the switch to an old-fashioned conference call, the guests told the bankers what they had been wanting to hear. That Ozy was a great success on YouTube, racking up significant views and ad dollars, and that Mr. Watson was as good a leader as he seemed to be. As he spoke, however, the man's voice began to sound strange to the Goldman Sachs team, as though it might have been digitally altered, the 4 people said. After the meeting, someone on the Goldman Sachs side reached out to Mr. Piper, not through the Gmail address that was provided to participants before the meeting, but through Mr. Piper's assistant at YouTube. And that's when things got weird. A confused Mr. Piper told the Goldman Sachs investor that he had never spoken with her before. Someone else, it seemed, had been playing the part of Mr. Piper on the call with Ozy. When YouTube learned that someone had apparently impersonated one of their executives at a business meeting, its security team started an investigation, the company confirmed to me. The inquiry didn't get far before a name emerged. Within days, Mr. Watson had apologized profusely to Goldman Sachs, saying the voice on the call belonged to Samir Rao, the co-founder and chief operating officer of Ozy, according to the 4 people.
I got an idea.
I wonder if that, like, it was probably always the plan to do the conference call, but I'd like to imagine that at one point they were going to use deepfake technology and like
we got this great filter. You're gonna look great.
of Alex Piper.
Yeah, and then the filter stopped working. Like,
jeez.
Well, we do have the voice deepfake, which I don't know. I don't know what the digital trickery they did with the voice was, but it sounds like something weird was going on there.
Yeah, I don't know, but. Yeah, I could imagine like the Goldman Sachs people just being like, why does it say snap camera on the video that's being sent over?
How come when you open your mouth, rainbows shoot out of your eyes? That's weird.
Oh my God, he turned into a unicorn.
So yeah, a top executive at Ozy Media pretended to be a YouTube executive in a conference call with investors to trick them into thinking that Ozy Media was a big deal, doing huge numbers. Pretty wild. So yeah. Carlos Watson, he apologized to Goldman Sachs, saying that Samir Rao had only done this elaborate stunt due to a mental health crisis. But that excuse kind of doesn't make any sense because Watson played along with it the whole time. So,
oh, well, you know about the mental health with these days, and everyone has the mental health.
When he has a mental health crisis, it's best to just...
End of story.
It's best to play along, even if you may end up breaking various securities laws around deceiving investors. You just got to play along with it.
Well, tell them that you have mental health issues. They can't say anything because then that would be offensive.
That would be.
Yes.
But what's even crazier, though, is that over the last 8 years, Ozy Media has apparently been able to raise more than $83 million in investments from a huge roster of big-name investors. And as of last year, it valued itself at $159 million, despite really just not doing a whole lot. I mean, they've made newsletters and podcasts. They have a lot of live-action video content. But the dollar amounts make absolutely no sense considering barely anyone was actually consuming any of this content.
Yeah. In 2019, Ozy claimed in a press release to have 50 million unique monthly users, which is a lot, but it's also bullshit. From the Times article, Ozy doesn't rely on standard measurements of traffic.
We do things a little different.
But the best-known service, ComScore, shows nothing close to the company's public claims. According to ComScore, Ozy reached nearly 2.5 million people during some months in 2018, but only 230,000 people in June 2021 and 479,000 in July. Mr. Watson called the ComScore numbers incomplete, noting they don't include impressions on platforms ranging from social media to television and podcasts. Other figures seem off, but are harder to verify. Ozy told Axios in January that the company's newsletter had more than 20 million subscribers. By comparison, The Morning Brew, a successful newsletter-based business media company, says it has 3 million subscribers.
Wow, they're doing so good.
Ozy was also caught back in 2017 buying the type of fake web traffic where their content would pop up way down at the bottom of a web page where a user wouldn't even see it. And this is a standard tactic, even for legitimate companies.
Yeah, it's real shady.
Yeah, they'll put videos that have no business being on, that have nothing related to the article that you're reading. And you're like, okay, why is this playing? Anyways, mute, scroll down.
But a lot of times, they'll be like...
It'll be like a miniature on the side.
A miniature at the very bottom that's like muted. Like you wouldn't even know it's there unless you scrolled all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
It's very shady.
And those numbers, like even at its best, I mean, we do... 2 million?
There was like a Twitch streamer that we talked about years ago who got caught doing this.
Buying up the ad space on
where
websites
like their streams were just getting crazy numbers even though there was like 5 chatters in there.
Well, I think that was like it was the tactic of a service that Twitch users were paying for to get more active viewers. Yeah. And so that service was buying up ad space for like pennies.
Yeah.
And putting that, anyways, that's how that scam worked. But like, that's the thing is like, I think like last month we did like just under 2 million views. So where's my $180 million?
Yeah, that's the thing. These guys, it's all about who you know.
Yeah.
It's all about who you rub shoulders with at these fucking dinners. And apparently you can just tell them you're doing great and they won't do even the bare minimum.
Yeah, I need to get in on this.
Yeah, they're not gonna check fucking ComScore, which is like right there. I think you have to have like a paid account that's like $10, $20 a month, but like literally like they could have just fact-checked any of these companies' claims.
They could have gone to Social Blade.
At any point. Well, yeah. They quote Social Blade in this article, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the deception does not end there. Other lies include billboards for the Carlos Watson show, calling it Amazon Prime's first talk show, which Amazon asked them to take down because Ozy was simply uploading their content to Amazon Prime through Video Direct, which anyone can upload content to. It's like this YouTube feature in Prime that...
We could be on Prime?
Yeah, if we wanted to. I mean, there'd be barely any point to it, but yeah.
Do they monetize?
I don't know.
Bezos probably makes some money, but not us.
Yeah. Anyway, they also marketed the Carlos Watson show as the fastest growing talk show in YouTube history, which seems to not be based on any actual metrics, including the view counts. Yeah. The article, it also quotes someone from analytics firm Social Blade, saying that the view counts and number of comments on Ozy's YouTube page are a little odd. And yes, if you look at their YouTube feed, it is pretty odd. There's a few videos with views in the tens of thousands sprinkled around, but there's almost no comments on those ones. And the rest range from view counts in the hundreds down to just single digits. I saw one that had 7 views.
Well, 8 now.
So I didn't click on it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, it's going to remain there.
Yeah.
Anyways, within less than a week of that Times article being published, Ozy sponsors and board members fled like rats on a sinking ship, all of them seeming to finally realize what a grift the whole thing had always been. Ozy Media announced that it was shutting down, but then a few days later, Carlos Watson announced on the Today Show that Ozy would be opening for business again, saying, "This is our Lazarus moment." It might be a little difficult now that the money's finally dried up, but hey, good luck with that. Oh, they're also being sued for fraud by one of their former investors. So
yeah, and probably more of that on the way if they did in fact misrepresent themselves to more companies. Which you don't start at impersonating a YouTube executive. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the culmination of years of small lies that just sort of snowball out of control until you see that sort of deception as just like something, yeah, I can probably do that.
I mean, this guy claims to have like worked for Goldman Sachs at one point too, so it's like, you gotta understand, like, very clearly as portrayed in this article, a lot of these people are fucking idiots.
Yeah.
And they just want to hear what they want to hear.
But like a big part of it is, yeah, like the people who founded this, like they run in the same circles as all these people, and they just all assume.
There's all as much as handshaking.
Yeah, they're like, all right, sounds great, Carlos. How's the old media company doing? Great.
It's great.
All
the
right.
numbers are up.
You guys need money? All right.
Yeah. This is essentially a write-off for this business.
I'll be damned if the government takes any of this shit out of my pocket. But
I'd rather just burn it.
Yeah.
I'd rather just shovel it into a fucking furnace.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
Yeah. Anyways.
And in case you're wondering, the name Ozy is short for Ozymandias. And the description on their website of how they chose that name, it's really something. We were founded on the belief that more is possible and a determination to question assumptions about how the world operates and what lies ahead. And we built those convictions into our name, which comes from Ozymandias, from Percy Bysshe Shelley. The poem is commonly read as a warning against outsized egos and the impermanence of power, but we choose to read it differently. To us, it's a call to think big while remaining humble. Admittedly, ours is an unconventional interpretation because that's who we are. In a world littered with conformity, we like to see things differently.
They are literally the poster from Fargo with the fish going the other way.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of grifts and scams, Ozy Media, they may have tricked a bunch of high-profile investors into giving them money under false pretenses, but that's nothing compared to the types of grifts and scams that you see in the world of cryptocurrency, where it's usually just someone taking the money and ghosting everyone. And that's what happened recently with an NFT project called Evolved Apes, which, like all other popular NFT collections these days, revolves around Elliot's words, hideous, poorly drawn animals that look like dog shit.
Would you disagree? You think this is good art?
Some of them are terrible. Some of them are like unique enough. It's like, look, I don't get it. And
you just don't want to offend your friends that are blowing crazy amounts of money on this.
I don't think they appreciate the art either. But like,
that's fine. Call it.
And they're your friends too.
Yeah. Well, I'm not afraid of upsetting them by telling them that the art they're spending money on looks like trash.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're in it for the art at this point.
I know. It's all about the money. I'm just tired of pretending that this is the future of art when it looks like dog shit. It looks like...
You should be thanking all these bad art projects because they're showing how everyone is just in this for the money and not for the actual art.
I mean, that's fine. Whatever. At least with this Solana coin, like, it's not burning up nearly as much as the fucking rainforest.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, that's fine. Whatever. Go play with your fucking fake baseball cards and your fake money. As long as you're not ruining the earth as much as they were 6 months ago.
There you go.
Whatever. But anyway, let's read from Vice. Evolved Apes is described on NFT marketplace OpenSea as a collection of 10,000 unique NFTs trapped inside a lawless land. They are fighting for survival. Only the strongest ape will prevail, it says, referring to the project's much-hyped fighting game, which has not materialized. A week after the project launched, the anonymous developer known as Evil Ape, who promised that game, vanished along with the project's official Twitter account and website. But they left traces behind on the blockchain that shows they siphoned 798 Ether, $2.7 million, out of the project's funds in multiple transfers. The funds, derived from the initial public sale of NFTs and commissions on the secondary market, were meant for project-related expenses like marketing.
So basically, the NFTs are still out there being bought and sold, but Evolved Apes was supposed to also be a video game, which thousands of people invested in before Evil Ape ghosted them with their money. Artists hired to contribute artwork weren't paid, and investors who'd supposedly won NFT prizes never received them. A member of the Evolved Apes community who investigated what was going on wrote in a report to other members, "What has happened is that Evil Ape has washed his hands of the project, taking away the wallet with all the ETH from minting that was to be used for everything, from paying the artist, paying out cash giveaways, paying for marketing, paying for rarity tools, developing the game, and everything else in between."
He took the money and run. Hey guys, you like...
That was the real art all along, just like everything else.
Yeah.
Just like the real art world.
It's just funny how easy it is. It's like, hey, we're doing this. Guys, I know you saw the pigs and the dogs and
the lions.
The lions.
Yeah.
Well, this Apes project is going to be so much bigger. Give me the money, you're going to be rich. And people were like, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, see ya.
Internet loves monkey, so why
They
wouldn't
do.
this be successful?
They do.
Yeah.
But again, the NFTs, they're still out there. They still look like shit. And the community has apparently decided to forge on with a new NFT project called Fight Back Apes. But meanwhile, due to the way that NFTs work, Evil Ape still makes 4% royalties off of each sale.
Genius.
But the community is apparently trying to get OpenSea to change that somehow.
And they should redirect it to the actual artists.
If that's even possible,
Yeah.
but I don't think it is. Like, that's the whole thing with the blockchain.
Yeah,
It's like,
there it is.
Anyway, this is just the latest example of how easy it is to get scammed or do your own scams in the NFT marketplace, but it certainly won't be the last.
And speaking of animal-themed NFT collections that are selling like crazy, despite looking like some low-effort garbage from DeviantArt or one of those profile pic avatar creators, Lindsay Lohan has apparently entered the NFT game.
Oh.
She's partnered with the Canine Cartel NFT project on what can only be described as an NFT of her fursona. And in addition to looking like dog shit, it also apparently really upset the furry community, who also think it looks like dog shit. So it's not just us.
Yeah.
The furries themselves are upset.
Furries are upset.
Anyway, someone bought this thing for $4,500.
Yeah, and with this one, like, actually, Canine Cartel, out of all the, like, animal-themed, like, trading card NFTs, like, this one, the art, I'm like, it's kind of good. I still find it tacky that it's literally just a bunch of Photoshop layers being swapped around. But this one, the actual art style, I'm like, it's fine. But for some reason, the Lindsay Lohan limited edition one was done by a completely different artist, and it looks bad.
No, I have a friend that'll do it.
Yeah, it looks really bad. It like actually looks like DeviantArt crap.
But that's the thing with these, it's like as you compare to like trading cards, like you look at like baseball cards and it's like there's 7 different versions of the same card, and it's like, but this one has a green border.
Yeah.
Or this one has a blue border.
Yeah.
Or this one has a little bit of a rainbow foil on it. And it's like, my stars, that one is worth 10 times as much. And that's what it's like with these NFT apes, lions, and all that. It's like one little like Photoshop layer is switched, and it's like, oh, well, he has a gold necklace now.
Yeah,
this one's more rare.
He's got the Bitcoin earrings. Yeah. So that's like only one out of like every 3,000 has the Bitcoin earrings. So pretty rare.
Yeah.
I don't know, this whole thing, I'm actually very curious to see how all these collections turn out, because like they each of them has like 10,000 fucking cards in it. Like the whole idea of scarcity seems kind of meaningless, especially with all these different collections happening so quickly. It's like at a certain point, like, is there going to be a marketplace for this?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
But I am wondering, is the Canine Cartel, is that pound puppies all grown up?
I didn't even think of that, but these are tough puppies. They don't take any shit.
Hey, you know who looks like a dog? Lindsay Lohan.
Oh,
hey, Lindsay. We got this project we're working on.
Oh man, how far her star has
I wonder
fallen.
how the Stanley Nichols doing.
I haven't checked in on it. Stanley has run off with the money to Barbados.
Yeah, he's at Sandals Resort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These fucking idiots.
Stupid.
Made more off this Stanley nickel than I made off a year's worth of cameos.
Anyways, in other crypto news, a crypto company called Compound, which is a decentralized finance platform, basically the crypto world's version of a bank, sort of, they recently pulled the opposite of a scam. They accidentally gave a shitload of money to their users without any way to get it back, except for asking very nicely.
You love to see it.
Here's Gizmodo.
If someone accidentally deposited millions of dollars into your bank account, what are the chances you would return it? What if the person that sent it to you asked really nicely? This is the predicament that users of the popular decentralized finance, DeFi, staking protocol Compound are currently faced with. In recent days, the platform accidentally deposited arbitrary amounts of crypto into the accounts of some users. The total payout, which was delivered via a bug in a company update, now stands at approximately $89 million. As a result, the platform's CEO and founder, Robert Leshner, is begging for the money back. Leshner took to Twitter on Thursday to plead with users to return the mistakenly distributed millions, even suggesting that those who returned the funds could keep 10% as a reward for doing the right thing. If users don't return the money, Leshner threatened it would be reported as income to the IRS, and most of you are doxxed.
Yeah, the CEO ended up walking back his doxing threats because it was a bad look.
Especially in the crypto community.
Yeah, and miraculously, at least a few users have returned the free money despite being under no obligation, legal or otherwise, to do so.
Suckers.
And Compound isn't even the first company to accidentally deposit millions of dollars into random users' accounts. Earlier this year, the company BlockFi accidentally gave away $20 million in Bitcoin. And another company called Alchemex gave away $4.8 million in Ethereum. The future of money, ladies and gentlemen. And look, maybe I'm just being, putting my conspiracy tinfoil hat on, but what if the accidental oopsie mistake giveaways went to people that they knew? And it could be easily brushed under the rug by saying, we had a bug in our update and all these random people got like $80 million spread across hundreds of accounts. There's no way.
How would anyone know?
Even if 95 of those accounts out of 100 were actually random people, but 5 were very specific people, whoops.
Yeah, that's very good point. How would you be able to prove it?
I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying it's a pretty decent cover for if you wanted to divert funds unethically.
It would be. Yeah, if I was running one of these decentralized finance places, like, oh no,
Butterfingers.
No. All the money just went to all my friends, and they can't give it back. They're not even legally required to give it back. So
and
I guess
you
it's just
can't
theirs
prove that
now.
I know them.
Anyway, please.
Or like that's what happens, and the few people that actually gave the money back were, look, this is all hypothetical, but then they get that 10% reward, which could be $100,000 in some scenarios, or $1 million.
Yeah.
Not $1 million, it's 80 million total, but like.
It's all very interesting. Things like this prove that the whole, banking, a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
But definitely a lot of advantages to it as well.
Yeah, I'm not shitting on crypto. Like, crypto is whatever. I think it's fine for the most part, outside of like, the bad effects that it has on the environment. But like, look, I think it's great people are finding financial success with their crypto
I'm
stuff.
happy for everyone who is succeeding. I'm laughing at everyone who's failing.
It's just, for me, it's too risky.
Yeah, no.
It's like gambling. At least with gambling, I get to throw the dice.
I mean, look, every couple weeks I'll throw some money at Bitcoin and Ethereum. Just like pocket change, basically.
Yeah, Venmo has it now?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
So if I get that's the only thing I've been doing, is like if a friend sends me like $15 for like parking or something like that, like we went somewhere and I was like, I'll pay for parking and I'll just be like, oh, well, $15, I just buy the Bitcoin.
Like the way I see it is like, it's stupid and it's a scam, but also I'd hate to be left.
I don't want to be the only one that's not doing it.
I'd hate to be left, out to dry while everyone else is out in their yachts. So
all of my friends skipping around a meadow, like shitting rainbows and happy with their lazy lions.
Yeah. Anyway, we got a little bit more news.
I can't say I'm not jealous.
Yeah, I mean, money's a lot of fun.
Financial freedom would be wonderful.
You can do a lot of stuff with money that
Yeah.
you can't do without
They say money can't buy happiness, but money can buy a jet ski.
Yeah.
And I'd be pretty happy on a jet ski.
Wouldn't we all? Anyway, we got more news coming up for you, but first, this episode is sponsored by Stitch Fix. Your style isn't one size fits all. It's about what suits your body and what suits the moment. So why not shop at a store that's personalized to your body and style? Introducing Stitch Fix Freestyle, a shop built just for you. Stitch Fix Freestyle is your trusted style destination where you can discover and instantly buy curated items based on your style, likes, and lifestyle.
Whether you're looking for a brand you love or to try something new, at Stitch Fix Freestyle, you can shop hundreds of brands personalized to your size and fit. With styles for workouts to workwear, for lounging around the house, or a night out on the town, Stitch Fix Freestyle has clothes for any occasion. Plus, there's no subscription required, and they offer free shippings, returns, and exchanges. Get started today by filling out your style quiz at stitchfix.com/newsday. That is stitchfix.com/newsday to try Stitch Fix Freestyle. stitchfix.com/newsday.
Back to the news now with what's probably actually the biggest
Yeah.
real news of the week, the Pandora Papers. Similarly to the Panama Papers from a few years back, they are a huge trove of leaked documents which reveal the insane degree to which the rich and powerful throughout the world are hiding their money to avoid taxes. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, or the ICIJ, they're behind both the Panama Papers and these new Pandora Papers. And this latest investigation involved the work of more than 140 media organizations and more than 600 journalists in 117 countries. Which makes sense because it's 2.94 terabytes of data that these journalists had to sort through.
Yeah, and when you think terabytes, you're like, you immediately think of like media files.
Yeah, these are
This
text.
is documents.
Yeah, just
this is like,
documents.
imagine 3 terabytes of email.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And probably most of it just not even, you're sorting through a bunch of nothing.
Nonsense, yeah. So yeah, it's hard to really sum up the findings or even quote from any of the media outlets covering it without having to go on for hours and hours. But basically, a ton of rich people, including at least 330 politicians from 90 countries, have been using offshore companies to hide their wealth, often by purchasing real estate. Maybe that's why there's a huge fucking problem in a lot of big cities around the world.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Sydney, Los Angeles, London, New York, Miami. Anyways, because of the way offshore companies work, governments aren't aware of the money and investments, and they don't tax these people accordingly, like they would for you or I. And often, this kind of thing isn't even illegal. It's just frowned upon and seen as unethical. And what these leaks show is that the reason governments don't take this issue seriously is that politicians are among those who benefit from it.
Yeah, it's a little catch-22.
You know who else was tied up in this? Shakira, the one who was just attacked by those wild boars.
What did the boars know?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Or did Shakira make up the wild boar story?
So she would trend differently, yeah.
She had $1 billion of offshore wealth in that bag that the boars stole.
Oh.
No, they stole all my Bitcoins. They were all in that bag.
Yeah.
All of my physical Bitcoin wallets were in there. You know how many USB drives were in that bag that the boars stole?
Big if true.
Well, someone in Spain, I think it was, is probably hunting around for boars right now, gonna slice their guts open and get all those Bitcoin
There's a
wallets.
QR code in one of those boars' stomachs that we really need right now.
You know how many lazy lions those boars ate? You're not gonna believe it. And Elton John was in it too.
Yeah,
and then a bunch of huge government officials.
Yeah, it seems like in the UK especially, like
the Queen was in, like the Queen's wealth.
Yeah, the whole royal family, Tony Blair.
Yeah.
For some reason in the UK, it seems like it's really easy for the rich people there to get away with this.
I believe it was I don't know if it was the president or someone very high up in Kenya.
Yeah,
Jordan.
Yeah. All throughout like Africa and the Middle East,
people using shell companies to buy like $500 million mansions in Malibu and like entire condominium buildings in Sydney Harbor, like this kind of shit.
Yeah,
and then just like leaving them dormant because they are literally just physically existing banks.
Yeah,
because like, oh, there's the money that you can't tax.
Exactly. Anyway,
and by the way, it's sitting there rising in value because I have taken away the real estate options around it.
Yeah,
because I've bought that much.
Created scarcity.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all very fucked up and frustrating, and the source of
nothing's probably gonna happen.
The direct source of much frustration for my wife and myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's interesting about these leaks is it doesn't seem like a whole lot of people from the U.S. are caught up in it, because I think we have pretty good laws preventing this.
Well,
but it does show that the U.S. itself has become kind of an offshore tax shelter for people in other parts of the world due to our relatively low taxes, but especially states like Nevada and South Dakota, which also offer a very high level of financial secrecy.
Yeah, they're calling South Dakota like the new Cayman Islands.
Yeah, you can start a company there that is just completely off the books.
Yeah.
No one can find it, no one knows about it.
In one of the articles I read about it, it was just like there wasn't a lot of people from the US caught up in this because the US already has some of the lowest tax rate for people with wealth in the entire modern world.
But the US now seems to have gotten into at least facilitating everyone else's corruption. Like, well, we can make some money off that.
My $1 billion company is a mailbox in South Dakota.
Yeah, King Abdullah of Jordan, in particular, seems to really like hiding his money in U.S. real estate, with more than $100 million of property in California and D.C. held by his secret offshore companies.
Yeah, and there's a lot to these Pandora Papers, and media outlets are going to be trickling out more and more information from them for a while. But yeah, this is a big deal. There's a firm from, I think, Singapore or something like that called like Asia City.
Yeah.
That goes around and just buys up property.
That's their
using the money from that other people are giving them.
Their only job. And it's also like the Asia City firm, I think, is owned by a guy who doesn't live in Singapore. He's an Australian guy. It's like a secret company.
There's some guy is part of it, and he's literally calls himself the second richest man in China because he doesn't want to be the first richest guy in China because that draws too much attention.
Yeah, those guys end up dying.
One of the best things that you can watch for this, and it is very specific to Australia, is The Australian broadcasting company did an hour-long documentary about this.
Yeah, it's really good. Some of their B-roll choices are really annoying. They did this stylistic
the
thing.
Parallels.
Yeah,
like, we're living in a parallel world.
Right, stop it. Yeah, all their B-roll is like mirrored.
It's very good to just listen to.
Yeah.
You don't really need to look at what's going on because it's just paperwork for the most part. So it is really interesting to listen to, and they do a very good breakdown. Like if you just want to do the first 10 minutes of it, you will get the gist of what's going on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking about trillions of dollars being stashed away, with potentially a lot of it here in the US, where even the existence of an offshore shell company can be kept completely secret. Hopefully some change comes out of this. But everyone felt the same way about the Panama Papers, and yet here we are again. So what's going to happen? Nothing really. If someone who works in a country with actual shame, they will step down, like what happened in Iceland, I believe.
That was the only public figure to step down.
And then there will be like a sacrificial journalist who gets car bombed or something.
Yeah, that's what happened last time.
And then pretty much nothing after that.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it? Go fight amongst yourselves while we sit here with our money just not doing shit.
To explain, instead of like hiding money in these ways, all of this money could actually be used to help people in the countries where this money is being generated.
Yeah. Talking about false scarcity, there's a false scarcity of money. Literally,
people are hoarding trillions of dollars.
There's money being hoarded just because these people don't want to part with it. They're not fucking using half this shit. They're just letting it sit there so it can grow. And it's upsetting. But speaking of super rich people, Jeff Bezos is apparently sending Captain Kirk into space. And no, we're not talking about Chris Pine.
Although I'm sure he'd like to go.
He's got time.
Yes.
Blue Origin is planning on shooting 90-year-old actor William Shatner into space, or at least Blue Origin's definition of space, which is really not the definition that most scientists would agree with.
I let him slide. It's still cool.
He will be weightless for a couple minutes, hopefully. Hopefully he looks out the window instead of like tossing Skittles to other people inside.
Yeah.
Look out the window. What are you doing, Jeff?
They're going to give him like some kind of replica of the bridge in Star Trek. Yeah.
There's the Enterprise. Look, it's floating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also this is happening next week. Get to space, sir.
Yeah.
Beam me up. William Shatner will be the oldest person ever launched into space, which is a record previously held by Wally Funk, an actual astronaut who Jeff Bezos launched into space back in July. Sorry, Wally. Step aside.
Yeah.
Hope you had fun during like the 2 months when you were the oldest person in space.
I hope that everything works out fine.
Yeah, and
Wally Funk, for that age, good shape. William Shatner, not exactly the picture of health.
He still looks way better than 90.
Yes. No, I wouldn't believe it if you told me he was 90 without actually knowing how old he was.
Yeah.
He is ageless.
He is.
He's still out there working, the History Channel.
That's right.
He's all about it. So, there you go. But speaking of Blue Origin, it's apparently a terrible company to work for. Are you surprised? And that's according to 21 current and former employees who published an open letter last week titled, "Bezos wants to create a better future in space. His company Blue Origin is stuck in a toxic past." And while it's not quite as bad as the allegations that recently came out about Activision Blizzard, it's not good. Sounds like Blue Origin has a bit of a sexism problem, so let's read from the letter.
Blue Origin currently has more than 3,600 employees spanning 6 states and several countries. However, in the company Bezos has created, the workforce dedicated to establishing this future for all is mostly male and overwhelmingly white. 100% of the senior technical and program leaders are men. Workforce gender gaps are common in the space industry, but at Blue Origin they also manifest in a particular brand of sexism. Numerous senior leaders have been known to be consistently inappropriate with women. One senior executive in CEO Bob Smith's loyal inner circle was reported multiple times to Human Resources for sexual harassment. Even so, Smith personally made him a member of the hiring committee for filling a senior HR role in 2019.
It continues, another former executive frequently treated women in a condescending and demeaning manner, calling them baby girl, baby doll, or sweetheart, and inquiring about their dating lives. His inappropriate behavior was so well known that some women at the company took to warning new female hires to stay away from him, all while he was in charge of recruiting employees. It appeared to many of us that he was protected by his close personal relationship with Bezos. It took him physically groping a female subordinate for him to finally be let go. Additionally, a former NASA astronaut and Blue Origin senior leader once instructed a group of women with whom he was collaborating, "You should ask my opinion because I'm a man." We found many company leaders to be unapproachable and showing clear bias against women. Concerns related to flying New Shepard were consistently shut down, and women were demeaned for raising them. When one man was let go for poor performance, he was allowed to leave with dignity, even a going-away party. Yet, when a woman leader who had significantly improved her department's performance was let go, she was ordered to leave immediately, with security hovering until she exited the building 5 minutes later.
Okay.
But
so
William Shatner's going to space, so
yeah.
if you Google Blue Origin, it's all going to be about William Shatner.
And Wally Funk is still the oldest woman in space.
And then they had to go get an older man.
But perhaps more serious than the sexism claims are the claims that because dissent is suppressed among employees, a lot of safety issues end up going unaddressed. In the opinion of an engineer who has signed on to this essay, Blue Origin has been lucky that nothing has happened so far. Many of this essay's authors say they would not fly on a Blue Origin vehicle. And no wonder. We have all seen how often teams are stretched beyond reasonable limits. In 2019, the team assigned to operate and maintain one of New Shepard's subsystems included only a few engineers working long hours. Their responsibilities, in some of our opinions, went far beyond what would be manageable for a team double the size, ranging from investigating the root cause of failures to conducting regular preventative maintenance on the rocket's systems. Requests by managers and employees for additional engineers, staff, or spending were frequently denied, despite the fact that Blue Origin has one of the largest single sources of private funding on Earth. Employees are often told to be careful with Jeff's money, to not ask for more, and to be grateful. In weekly meetings, we have seen Bezos and CEO Smith frequently broaden the scope of existing projects, sometimes even adding more programs, but without authorizing the needed increase in budget or personnel. We have seen a pattern of decision-making that often prioritizes execution speed and cost reduction over the appropriate resourcing to ensure quality. In 2018, when one team lead took over, the team had documented more than 1,000 problem reports related to the engines that power Blue Origin's rockets, which had never been addressed. Not really an industry you want to be cutting corners in. Rockets.
Yeah, they literally referenced the 1986 Challenger space shuttle explosion as something they worry will happen with one of their rockets. And they cite the fact that the US government's investigation into the explosion found similar causes to what they're experiencing. Rushed schedules and the stifling of internal dissent. Anyway, sounds like Jeff Bezos' space rocket vanity project has a lot of problems, which is an absolute shocker if you know anything about the company Jeff Bezos used to run. So who could have guessed?
Yeah.
I was just going to point out, like before they mentioned the Challenger thing, it was just like, well, to be fair, NASA was like running with people working 24 hours a day and constantly drunk. So
yeah, there's supposedly,
and we went to the goddamn moon.
Yeah,
and we smoked cigarettes on it.
Marlboro is the official cigarette of Apollo 11.
You know how many cartons of cigarettes we went through in a day, and how many bottles of whiskey we went through in a day at NASA?
This flavor is out of this world.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, stay toots, why don't you go sew a patch on a spacesuit?
Yeah, Challenger was a big deal. NASA learned a lot from it. There was, obviously a lot of, they looked into it quite a bit, and they found the key problems were that these people were working too hard.
Well, and
too
also
quickly.
they had specifically with that, in 1986, that was the one with the teacher.
Yeah.
And that was like the O-ring on the rocket. But basically, they didn't want to scrub the launch. It was a huge media event.
Yeah, they were in a hurry.
And it was too cold oddly, in Florida, it was too cold that morning. And so that's what caused the catastrophic, one of the major...
And a bunch of people brought it up. They're like, this is dangerous. You shouldn't do that. I'm like, shut up. And
we should hold the launch. And it's like, we can't. The news cameras are rolling.
Similarly, they say in this letter that like at big meetings, like it seems like all anyone cares about is like beating Richard Branson and Elon Musk to like certain milestones over anything else.
This literally mirrors the space race in the 1960s.
Yeah, all the bad parts of the space race, except this time they're not actually accomplishing anything new.
Yeah. Well, they do land. they come back and they land on the things, and it's really cool looking.
I mean, Musk does. Bezos,
and they haven't burned anyone alive in the space capsule yet, right? Like in Apollo 1?
No, not yet. I guess, the Bezos rocket does come down too. But, I don't know. It's like...
Landing rockets, pretty cool.
It is cool. That's great. I would still not want to be on one of these launches.
Yeah, not yet.
No. Maybe not ever. I don't fucking care. Like...
Yeah!
It'd be cool, I guess, but...
Look, as I've said multiple times on here, I get scared on airplanes now. So I don't think I'd be very good on the space rocket.
Yeah.
They'd have to pump me full of so much Xanax that I wouldn't even remember the trip.
Just completely zanned out above the clouds.
At that point, I would just want to eat Skittles or whatever.
I feel like I'm floating.
Sir,
Ricky, you are.
Whoa!
You'd be the first person to have a drug overdose in space.
There's got to be a first for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's our episode. If you haven't watched our previous one about the whole Facebook outage and a bunch of other fun stuff. About,
Over at Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, about
I'm surprised Facebook isn't building a rocket.
Yeah, to escape the FBI. Can't arrest Mark Zuckerberg on the moon.
I'm in space now. Come and get me.
And then, the most recent Weekly Weird News where we talked about a parent tax dodger, Shakira, being attacked by boars who were probably
It was
journalists.
actually a miscommunication. The boars were actually the IRS.
Yeah. The boars were actually a new series of NFTs. They're called
Shakira boars.
They're called the bossy boars. And
Yeah.
each boar is the same boar, but some of them have sunglasses, a gold chain with a little Bitcoin thing on it, like a cool jacket. And there's only like 1,000 bossy boars, and you're gonna want to collect them all. But also, first, give me money to develop the bossy boars.
Yeah.
Because this is a big project for me to take on, and trust me, you're going to get it all back and then some.
The videos are now up on the screen. So check both of those out. Subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and we'll see you very soon.
Bye-bye.